Fox Carolina News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good evening to you. I'm Shale Ramin. That breaking news, severe weather is rolling into our area overnight. In fact, a tornado watch is already out for parts of western North Carolina. I want to get right to it with Chief Meteorologist Kendra Kent. So Kendra, break it down for us. When is the worst of the worst going to hit our area?
Well, for the upstate, it's going to be much later tonight. In the mountains, though, we have the opportunity to see some severe weather in the next few hours because we have that tornado watch that's out until 2 a.m. And that's because of an initial band of storms that's moving in. Right now, it's producing damaging wind, not just damaging wind. And that could be a significant factor later tonight. But of course, we're all on high alert for the potential for tornadoes. In the upstate, things have been fairly quiet this evening, but we're seeing a few spotty areas where individual cells are trying to get going, but they've not become severe at all. We're just continuing to watch those closely. Our threat for severe weather in the upstate will be very late tonight. You've got to have a way to get those warnings. The Fox Carolina app is a good way to do that. But again, right now, you may be getting some heavy downpours around Pickens, northern Greenville County, northern Spartanburg County, and up into the mountains, Hendersonville. We've got some decent downpours. But we've got a severe thunderstorm that's grazing areas like Cherokee County, North Carolina, and that's going to continue to work its way a little bit farther into the mountains. We could get damaging wind with this, and we'll let you know if we see any rotation within the thunderstorm, indicating that a possible tornado is present. Now, we've had multiple tornado warnings today across North Georgia, extending through Alabama and Mississippi. This line, this area, that's what's going to affect the upstate later tonight. So notice it's got a while to travel as we go into the late night hours. So we'll likely see it lull in the upstate through around midnight, 1 a.m., and then things will pick up later. Here's a look at our latest Futurecast model. It looks like a mess, I know, because there's a lot happening, but we'll have a little bit of heavy rain moving through the mountains, potentially some severe weather in that tornado watch area, far western North Carolina under the gun for that. Then the main line will begin to approach as of 2 a.m. This is what could still have embedded tornado warnings, damaging wind, and it's going to be right on top of the upstate, or at least starting its approach through around 4 a.m. So Clemson, Anderson, Toccoa, that's when you would start to see some of the worst weather. By 5 a.m., beginning to push into our eastern sections. This will be a fast-moving line as it moves through the upstate. But anywhere from 2 a.m. to around 6 a.m., we're going to have a good chance for severe storms. So a scary situation. This is the last thing we want to see. Luckily, it does clear out nicely as we go into the early morning hours. We also have a flood threat. We've seen quite a bit of rain so far today. More rain will be possible tonight. So it's another thing you might get through our Fox Carolina app, another warning that could be issued. I want to pitch it over to meteorologist Ben Dorenbach to talk more about this. Ben, it's so important that folks have a way to get those warnings tonight. And of course, the Fox Carolina app, a good way to do that.
Absolutely, Kendra. This is probably not the only time you're going to hear us mention that throughout this newscast because it is so important to have that way of getting alerted while you're asleep. Here's a breakdown of the threats that we're expecting with this overnight thunderstorm threat. Our highest threat is high straight line winds. We're talking 60 to 70 plus mile per hour straight line winds that can do just as much, if not more damage than some weak tornadoes. So that's why we're really emphasizing that real importance to get warned while you're asleep. So high wind tornadoes, we have a moderate threat of those. Also the case with flooding, because a lot of these early evening or a lot of these initial rounds of thunderstorms are going to be impacting those mountainous areas for extended periods of time. So we're talking 1 to 3 inch rain totals, possibly as high as 5 inches in some of those areas of western North Carolina, the extreme northern parts of the upstate. So flash flooding certainly possible. It's also possible that rivers and streams go above their banks just because we're going to have so much rain over an extended period of time. So also not discounting it, but certainly our secondary threat is going to be hail. And with the amount of wind shear that we have in place, anything is certainly possible with this overnight threat. So here's the bottom line. Damaging wind and tornadoes are the main issues that we're dealing with. The time frame will be mountains from now till 4 a.m. Upstate a little later, like Kendra said, from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then those of you who might have friends in the Charlotte metro metro area a little bit later than that. We're talking about the 7 to 9 a.m. time frame. Be prepared. As we've been saying over and over again, for the second time in about a week or so, we've had an overnight threat for severe weather. This one definitely looking a lot more menacing than the one, say, a few days ago. So have a way of receiving alerts while you're asleep. Make sure your cell phone is not on silent mode. Some people can be woken up by a vibrating phone, but some can't. So if you know that you can't, make sure you take that cell phone off of silent mode. And of course, check the latest forecast before going to bed this evening. And if this is your source for doing that, great. You can go to bed knowing that there might be severe potential after midnight, and in some cases well after midnight. So another great resource is Noaa weather radios. Those are definitely loud enough to where they can wake you up. So just make sure you know how you're going to get alerted while you're sleeping, and be sure to have that designated safe space ready to take shelter in once you have that warning issued for you ready. And of course, one of the best ways to get these alerts is the Fox Carolina News app. We have a feature that allows you to get alerted with severe weather for your specific location. It's free to download on either Google Play or the App Store, and it couldn't be more important to have in a time like this. Shale?
All right, Ben, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. And as the threat of severe weather continues pushing through our area, it's best to make sure you and your family have a plan in place if catastrophe were to strike. And we have comprehensive coverage on how to get through any bad weather that's heading our direction tonight. Fox Carolina's Jarvis Robertson joining us live now from Greenville County with more on how you can be weather ready. Jarvis.
Well, that's right, Shell. Duke Energy officials expect severe number of power outages as it relates to Western North Carolina and right here in the upstate, with the temperatures picking up in the degrees there. It's sort of like a perfect mixture for that bad weather. Now, this threat could bring strong winds, which means downed power lines, trees, and maybe even a tornado touchdown. According to Duke Energy, if you rely on electricity for medical needs, please consider right now what actions you will take if the power was to go out. It's also good to have an emergency kit ready with essentials like flashlights, candles, first aid supplies, and any medication that you may need. If a tornado warning is issued, you should know where inside your home is the best place to survive it, like the basement or inside a room without windows, and the lowest floor like the center hallway, bathroom, or a closet. Now, do not stay in a mobile home during a tornado. Consider going into a nearby building as long as it's safe. I did have a chance to speak with Duke Energy officials about why it's important to be prepared.
Now, the best thing that customers can do, that folks out there can do, is pay attention. Make sure that they have a plan. If they have special circumstances, that they're preparing for those. Make sure that they communicate their plan to their family and friends so everybody is on the same sheet of music. And then honestly, the best thing you can do is just pay attention. Pay attention, listen to the forecast, understand when it's going to be here.
Now, if you notice weather conditions suddenly become more active and violent, it's best for you to take cover in that moment. Now, if you do have a power outage, you can text out to 5780, or you can call and report it to Duke Energy at 1-800-769-3766. Again, that is for power outages. Now, coming up in the next half hour, I'm going to have details from Duke Energy on how you can keep your food intact if the power was to go out. We're live in Greenville County tonight. I'm Jarvis Robertson, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.